Okay, so this is the worksheet I'm going to go over. There are two worksheets. In fact, let me just show you. These are the two I'm going to talk about, and they're pretty extensive. There's quite a few practice questions on there as well. I graded the last wet lab, and some of you are still confused about what I want. I want everything in the lab manual, handwritten. I don't want scans of the lab packet. Okay. Also make sure you have a conclusion on all labs. There's a number of you that didn't have conclusions. So remember, lab points are easy points. I know it's a lot of work with all handwriting, but it isn't hard either, as opposed to tests. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and start here. By the way, the first part of this is a bunch of questions, and I gave you the answers as well. Now, this is a review, and hopefully it's a review and not totally new stuff. Okay, so what we have here is a ester. So that means this is the acid side, alcohol side. So it's a 3-carbon, 2-carbon. So we're going to name the alcohol first, which would be ethyl. And we're going to name the acid part okay, so that's the ATE denotes an ester. It also denotes an ionic compound. Okay, and there are some, yeah, there's one right here. Oh, that's the acid.
What is this worksheet under? Is it under tests or worksheets or where? I can't find it.
Under files, unit 2.
What's it called?
This first one right here.
Oh, okay. I think I found it. Thank you.
And then there's one right underneath it that hits carbs and aldehydes, ketones as well. So those two would be really good worksheets to go through for studying for next week. Okay. So as far as naming goes, whenever you have an ester, it's going to have an 8 at the end. So this was based on Propanoic acid. So this is replaced with ATE. Okay, so we have an acid salt here. So I'm going to name that sodium. And that is optional. That is not optional. Okay, so this is a 1, 2, 3, 3 carbon acid. Well, here we have the 8 again. This time it's used for an ionic compound. All right, so what do we have here? We have another ester. And we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Remember, the acid is on the carbonyl side. Okay, we have a branch also. A little methyl branch. Okay, that'd be on carbon 1, 2, 3. So we have the alcohol first, so that's propyl. Then we have the 4 carbon acid, the branch on carbon number 3. So it's 3 methyl. Butanoate. Okay, so now we have another acid salt. This would make a nice soap. Why would this make a nice soap? What does soap require? Emulsifiers require what? 2 parts. You guys are very attentive today. Okay, emulsifiers. Okay, now that would include surfactants as well. Soaps. Okay, so let's go back over here. Do you see a non-polar part? Non-polar part. And this part is very old. So it's emulsifier or soap. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, now this is the potassium salt of arachidonic acid. That's a 20 carbon. So I'm going to erase these, so get more room. Okay, so first way to name it, arachidonic acid. The other way,
So by getting that name, are you just doing that by memory, or is there a way to like tell like that's the name for that?
that's a common name, so that's just memory.
Okay,
But
so like
it's the potassium salt of arachidonic acid too. So it's what we have drawn here is not going to be named arachidonic salt. We have to put an OATA in it.
okay. So that chart you gave us,
Yeah.
that like we need to memorize those basically. The names and the line drawings from.
Yeah. Only let's see. There are how many here? There are 8 there. Learn the first 6.
Okay.
However, when you buy omega-3 supplement, it'll have mostly the last 2, the EPA and the DHA in them. They won't have the linolenic acid in there. The others are easier to come by, I should say, unless you're eating your fish. Okay, so let's name it though. Okay, it's not arachidonic acid. It is okay, and then it'll be potassium arachidonate. Okay, so let's name it using the delta. Okay, so this is 20 carbons. It'll be 20. And we have 4 double bonds at positions starting here. At positions 5, 8, 11, 14. So icosa is 20. And that would be at positions 5, 8, 11, 14. Tetra enoic. Actually, wouldn't be enoic, it would be potassium, cosa 5, 8, 11, 14, tetra enoic, enoate. Or a tongue twister. And then if it's the acid, it would instead of the 8, it'd be oic. And again, on your let's see, at the beginning here on this worksheet, thought I saw, yeah, here are the acids. So know those. Those you'll see a lot of. Okay, and this is why do you keep doing that? Would it help if I allowed a note card?
Yes.
Look, when I write, it disappears. Okay. What's going on? I'm gonna have to start this application up again. So I'll like starting up again. Let's see, what's the next size up from a 3x5? That like a 5x8 or? Um, tell you what, why don't we have half of an 8x11, both sides, which is what Madison said when she said front of a page. Okay, so half of a 8.5x11, both sides. Now, what I'd recommend you do is in Word or word processor anyway, print out as much as you want and then shrink it. Don't handwrite it, shrink it down. Because the font will be clearer than if you handwrite it. That would be my suggestion. You can handwrite it if you want. Okay, so let's see if this thing works now. Ah, it works now. It's doing it again. I've got to fix this because I can't go on otherwise. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second. I'm reloading this thing again. Okay, I think I know the problem. It was in the process of updating, that's why the writing wouldn't stick. So let's see on here. Yes, that was the problem. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Okay, can you all see?
Yeah.
Okay, so to review what I just said, I'm going to send a message out after we get done with this lecture regarding the notes. Okay, so this is a 3-carbon triol, so it's going to be Copa. Let me see. So it's a triol or glycol. Or glycerin. All three. So this would be the IUPAC. And these would be the common names. Okay, regarding the project, I'm just reading this last chat. What you should do first is review. Let me make a note to send out a file on this. Not to suggest. But I want to go over it a little bit. Okay, so review the posters. And let me show you where those are located. If you go to files, test related. Projects, I put it under a different name this time. Okay, so these are some sample posters. I have many, many more. I probably have 1,000 or so pictures of posters. And these are, some of these are really well done. Others are, okay. Plus a 1,000-word essay. Now, the way we're going to do this is you're going to bring this thing in before the semester is over. You can do it next Monday if you want, or you can do it December 11th, or anywhere in between. And you have Veterans Day holiday next month. That's just before the Thanksgiving holiday. So that might be a good time to do the poster part anyway. So think of the poster as your multimedia part of your essay. Now, the way we're going to do this is you're just going to have it in class, in lab, and you're not going to present it to anyone. You're not going to even present it to me. I'm going to look at your paper really fast and then ask you questions from your poster. Just kind of talk about it. That's all. So it should be very, very, very low anxiety. So there's no presentation to the class. In fact, it was interesting. About, I don't know, 12 years ago or so, I was teaching the same class up in Washington. And the whole class wanted to present to the whole class. It was an honest thing. Normally students don't like to present to the whole class, but this class said, oh yeah, we do. Because they all socialized together in study groups and stuff, and it was very interesting. So they did. It was really kind of cool. Anyway, it's basically worth a test. So also I updated the lecture lab schedule, and I also updated the syllabus regarding test 3. So what I'll do is I will update this poster session document a little more. And was that what you had in mind, by the way, the person that asked me that?
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but yes, in a way, that was what I had in mind. I just want to make sure we have like a checkoff list so we don't miss the small details that take a huge role on how we're going to get graded.
Right. Most people do fairly well on the posters, by the way, just FYI. And no, you still have to take the final. I'm sorry. Okay. So the checkoff list, that's a pretty good idea. In other words, yeah, I think I'll do that. That's a good idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's due December 11th or before. And during Thanksgiving week, the lab sessions are going to be devoted to bringing your poster if you have it done. So if you can get it done before, then that would be a time to get it out of the way. So if you can do it over Veterans Day holiday weekend, the 3-day weekend, that would work. Okay, so So does everyone know where these posters are located? In files, projects? I used to have it under test related. It was called poster session. I guess I decided to change that. And I forgot I changed it. Okay. So let's get back to this guy. All right, let's continue on here. We have another ester here. How do I know it's an ester? Get this guy here. And this is a so this is going to be the acid side, alcohol side. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. The alcohol is a cyclo. So this is a Y there, by the way. And the acid is a 4-carbon acid. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an acid, so it's going to be a okay, but because it's an unsaturated one, it's going to be a phenolic acid at position 1, 2, 3. And you get a smiley face if you said trans. And now we're doing structures. Okay. So ester. So that means that's the acid. That's the alcohol. So the acid is going to be coming from benzoic acid. And now with methyl groups on the line drawings, I usually put a dot there just to make sure that's just not a straight line or whatever. Okay, so here we have an ionic compound, so it's going to be 8 again. Notice, okay. Ethanoate or acetate is a 2-carbon salt. Another ester, 4-carbon ester. And it's got it came from the ethanol. And we have 1, 2, 3, the 2 methyl groups. So this is linoleic acid, a very common acid. It's one of the ones I want you to know. but mainly comes from corn. So when you buy corn oil, you're getting a triglyceride with mostly linoleic acid as the 3 fatty acids on it. So 18 carbons long, 2 double bonds at position 9 and 12. And it's also an omega-6 fatty acid. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a moment. So this is okay. That's how I came up with the delta 912. And then if we look at omega-6 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Linoleic acid, gamma linoleic acid. I think on the, did I have gamma or did I just have? Yeah, I just had linoleic acid, not the gamma. There are 2 linoleic acids. So anyway, that's the one you have. The one I want you to know is the gamma one. Okay, you should get used to going back and forth between, and then the other way to name this would be.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What's the omega thing again? Like, how do you find that out?
Okay, omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet. Alpha is the first. So omega means you start at the end of the fatty acid and count inward. That's where the omega comes in. So we count in omega-6 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the first encounter of the double bond. See, it doesn't say anything about any of the other double bonds. That's why I like the delta better, because it says exactly where the double bonds are located. Now, most nutritionists use the omega and biochemists use the delta. The biochemists are much more precise than the nutritionists. Okay, does that make sense how you do the delta or the omega?
So if the OH and the double bond O were on the other side of the line, would it be what's it called? Alpha or whatever the other one, delta? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but they don't use that. If you
Okay.
if you were going to use that same logic, yes, that would be totally logical. It'd be an alpha, but they call it delta.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry.
The delta is not the excuse me. The delta is not the first. It's alpha, beta, gamma, delta. So it's the 4th letter of the Greek alphabet, not the first.
Okay.
And I don't know how they came up with the delta. Because frequently delta will mean a change. You know, like we have delta temperature, which means that the temperature change. So
So are we gonna have to write these on the test?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that comes out of that sheet at the beginning of this worksheet of the fatty acids. So you might want on your notes page to have a an example of one of these. Oh, and then the name. Okay, so this is an 18 carbon, so it's going to be a octa Decanoic. And it's going to be a must be a 9,12 octadecanoic acid using the IUPAC. Common name would be linoleic acid. And the 9,12 octadecanoic acid is not used very much. Most biochemists just call it linoleic acid, but they all know the structure and stuff. So it's the less known ones that use this this notation here, but it's much more precise. That's why I like it. It's the linoleic you just have to memorize. Okay, so okay, so we have another ester. So this is the acid. This is the alcohol. So it's going to be this would be a methyl group here. Carbon number 2. That's for the butyl alcohol that it started with. And we have a 5-carbon acid. Okay. Glycerol, we've already talked about that. 3-carbon backbone and 3 hydroxyl groups. Trioleate. Okay, this is a fancy name for a triglyceride. Tri, and it is an ester. So we'd have 3 oleic acids on a glycerol backbone. So it will look something like this. And then you're going to have oleic acid here, which is an omega-9, 18 carbons long. And it's going to be omega-9. This is how the oleic acid comes from the word olive, and it was first discovered when they were making olive oil. And this would be this same thing as that. That would be trioleate. Okay, so this is the glycerol backbone. So it's functioning as the alcohol. And these are the 18 carbon acids. Choline is a very common alcohol. It's you look at the It's different. So it's 2 carbons long. And on one end it's got an alcohol, the other end it's got an NH4 group. You heard the term acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, and the enzyme that reestablishes that is cholinesterase. This is involved with this guy here. A lecithin, phospholipid. It has. It's also a triglyceride, but not a triglyceride, a diglyceride. And it has a phosphoric acid. Now these are any fatty acid. However, the bottom one here so that's choline. This is a diester phosphate diester. So that's what lecithin looks like. So it's a 3-carbon backbone. It's got 2 fatty acids. Usually they're common ones like oleic acid or linoleic acid, something like that, or stearic acid, the saturated one. And then it's got this phosphoric acid ester linking the choline to the backbone. Okay. All right. This is the key then. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to